Right. The mood around Celtic right now is nothing short of exhausting. Let's be honest, after everything that went down last week, the disappointment, the frustration, and the general cloud hanging over the club, it's hard to know where to even start. 1 week ago, we were licking our wounds from another failed European campaign, questioning decisions at every level, from the boardroom to the touchline, and wondering just how things managed to unravel so quickly. There's this collective fatigue that's set in, a weariness that makes even talking about the issues feel like a chore. But at the same time, we're Celtic. The fans show up, they tune in, they care. So, as much as the atmosphere feels grim, there's still a need, maybe even a responsibility, to find something worth holding on to. And that's the challenge today. Do we sit and stew in all the frustration, or do we try to look ahead with some kind of purpose? No, it's not about ignoring the issues. There'll still be bits of moaning in this video, no doubt, and frankly, it's deserved. But there's a balance to be struck. We're not just here to suffer through the mess. We're here because we love this club. Because, even when things feel hopeless, we're still chasing that moment, that spark, that feeling of pride when the team steps onto the pitch and delivers something special. So let's try to look forward, because, like it or not, there are some big games and big decisions ahead. The obvious starting point is Europe. The reality is that Celtic will not be playing Champions League football this season. That alone stings. It hurts. And even just saying, we'll be playing in the Europa League, carries a bit of shame after what we've come to expect and demand. But it's where we are. And rather than wallowing in it, maybe it's time to take a breath and ask, how do we make the most of this? What does this competition offer us now that things have changed? The Europa League itself has shifted in structure since the last time Celtic played in it back in the 2021-22 season. It's no longer the same old group stage format. Now it's a single league table with 36 teams. Everyone plays 8 matches, 4 at home, 4 away. It's a huge shakeup, one that could actually work in Celtic's favor if approached with some strategy. The top 8 teams go straight to the round of 16. Teams placed 9th to 24th have to go through an extra knockout round. And if you finish in the bottom 12, you're done. Out of Europe completely. No Conference League lifeline. No second chance. The other key change? No more Champions League drop-downs. That means no group stage flops like Barcelona or Juventus suddenly parachuting in halfway through and stealing the show. The teams we're grouped with in tomorrow's draw will be the same clubs we face for the entire campaign. And while that might strip away a bit of the old glamour, it levels the playing field a bit more. If Celtic can sort themselves out and hit any kind of rhythm, there's no reason we can't put together a decent European run. But, of course, that's the million-pound question. If Celtic can get themselves sorted. Because right now, let's not sugarcoat it, things aren't good. And they're not good in a way that's draining. It's not just about losing. It's about how we're playing, or maybe more accurately, how we're not playing. There's a lack of spark, a lack of identity, a team that looks like it's trudging through every 90 minutes with a weight on its shoulders. And all of that seeps into the fans. You can feel it in the stands. You can see it online. Everyone's waiting for something to change, some kind of sign that we're not just stuck in this same spiral again. And into all of this comes Rangers. Sunday is Derby Day. That always changes the energy, whether we like it or not. It's a moment for reaction, for redemption, for reminding ourselves, and them, that form might fluctuate, but some things are meant to be won. And this weekend's Old Firm feels like a massive moment, not just for bragging rights, but to see what this team is made of. Now, Rangers themselves are an absolute mess right now. Let's be honest, you lose 6-0 to Club Brugge, and it's not just a defeat, it's a collapse. The tie ended 9-1 on aggregate. That's beyond embarrassing. They were 6 down in 50 minutes and down to 10 men. From what we've heard, Club Brugge could have scored more, but decided to ease off. And yet, weirdly, that almost makes the derby even trickier for us. Because we've been here before, haven't we? When they're at their worst, and we head into Ibrox thinking it's ours to take. And then we freeze. Or worse, we just don't show up. The expectation now is that Russell Martin might not even make it to Sunday. There's a real chance he gets sacked before the game. And you'd think that would give Celtic an advantage, but it can go both ways. Sometimes teams rally. Sometimes they play with that weird sort of chaos that comes when you've got nothing to lose. But if we're being cold about it, if we look purely at the form, the confidence, the quality, Celtic should be going to Ibrox and turning the screw. No mercy, no overthinking, no letting them off the hook. Because as bad as we've been, they've been worse. And that's really saying something. This Rangers squad looks like it's crumbling from the inside. The fans have turned on Russell Martin already, and we know what that can do in that stadium. If we start well on Sunday, get the early goal, that place will turn toxic fast. It always does. But here's the problem, and it's a problem we can't ignore. Do we trust this Celtic team to go and do that? To show up and be ruthless? To capitalize on the chaos at Ibrox and walk out of there with a dominant performance? I'm not sure. And that's the worry. Because despite their crisis, there's still that lingering doubt about whether we've got the sharpness, the killer instinct, to take advantage. That's where transfers come in. Because if the squad feels stale, if the performances feel flat, maybe the answer is to freshen things up. One name that's been circulating is Michael Bulatwissa, who's reportedly passed his medical in London. Celtic fans are crying out for someone who can make an immediate difference, and this could be the man. For me, it's simple. If he's fit, if the paperwork's sorted, he should start on Sunday. Yes, it's drastic, but we're not in a normal situation. We're in a crisis of creativity, of energy, and throwing someone in who's not burdened by the mess of the past few months might be exactly what we need. Look at guys like Alistair Johnston or Jens, thrown straight into massive games and rising to the occasion. Sometimes it works. Sometimes, new blood is exactly what jolts the team into action. Because right now, watching Celtic has become a chore. The football is pedestrian, predictable. Players look like they're second-guessing everything. That kind of atmosphere is poison in a derby. You need someone fearless, someone with nothing to lose. And if Bulatwissa has even a fraction of that in his locker, he should be out there from the first whistle. Of course, there's also talk of Sebastian Tunney from Hammarby, a left winger who's impressed in Sweden. And that raises another question. Are we about to have a pile-up on that side? Dyson Maeda's played left, right, even centrally at times. Is he shifting again? Is he leaving? Is Brendan Rodgers looking to completely retool that flank? It's hard to know. And while we're at it, can someone explain why we keep bidding half of what clubs are asking for? We reportedly offered around €3 million for Tunney when Hammarby won at least double that. It's the same frustrating pattern over and over again. We identify targets, make lowball bids, drag things out, and then act surprised when the deals fall apart. Then there's the whole Jacob Bream situation, the midfielder from Go Ahead Eagles. Reports are saying the deal's off because of our Champions League failure. But if you trace the source, it's a Dutch outlet that casually mentioned it without any real confirmation. Just a throwaway line that's now spiraled into full-blown transfer news. Classic. Meanwhile, outgoing talk is heating up too. Young is reportedly on Birmingham City's radar, where he'd join Kyogo and Tomoki Iwata. Can't say many fans would lose sleep if Young moved on. It hasn't worked out, and maybe a clean slate is best for both sides. Same goes for Hayato and Namura, who's being lined up for a loan after the arrival of Marcelo Serra and the return of Kieran Tierney. Again, no surprise there, but it does feel like another young player getting brushed aside before he's had a real chance. With the transfer window closing on Monday, 11 o'clock in Scotland, by the way, not 7 like down south, there's not a lot of time left. But that's the window for you. Panic deals, late drama, and usually more frustration than excitement. The hope is that someone, anyone, arrives who can lift the energy around the squad. Because right now, we're limping toward one of the biggest games of the season, unsure if we're ready to swing or just bracing to survive. And that's where Celtic are at the moment, caught between two identities. A team still capable of winning domestically, still carrying better players than Rangers, still holding a stronger squad on paper, but lacking conviction, lacking clarity, and more worryingly, lacking belief. Rangers are there for the taking. But we've said that before. And if Sunday is going to mean anything, we need more than just hope. We need action. We need intent. And maybe, just maybe, a bit of bravery from the manager to shake things up when it matters most. And it's that bravery, or lack of it, that might end up defining Brendan Rodgers' second spell at the club. Because so far, it's been hard to pin down exactly what his vision is. There's been talk of a new approach, a more controlled style, something more refined than the relentless pressing and intensity under Ange Postecoglou. But where's the identity? Where's the intent? What we're watching just now is passive, tepid football, long spells of sterile possession followed by a lack of incision in the final third. There's no urgency, no real cohesion, and certainly no sense of a team building towards something. It's almost as if the players are stuck between two philosophies, not fully understanding where they're supposed to go or how they're meant to get there. And if we, as supporters, are confused watching it, you can only imagine how disjointed it must feel inside the dressing room. Rodgers has spoken about the need for patience. He's hinted that the style of play he wants to implement will take time to click, and that he's working with a squad that might not be fully suited to his way of playing. Fair enough, to a point. But Celtic is not a club where managers get a season or two to build slowly. The demands are too high. The margin for error is razor thin. When you lose out on Champions League money, when you crash out to an opponent like Kairat Almaty in the qualifiers, fans are not going to sit quietly and wait for some long-term vision to blossom. They want results. They want energy. And they want to see progress, not just in theory, but in action. And yet, that sense of drift keeps growing. From recruitment to performances, there's this feeling that Celtic are just kind of floating. No real aggression in the market, no assertiveness on the pitch. It's like the club is paralyzed by indecision, too cautious to fully invest in top talent, too stubborn to rip up what clearly isn't working. You look at the transfer activity, and it's the same old dance. Low bids, dragged-out negotiations, bargain hunting while rivals, even ones in disarray, throw everything at trying to improve. That used to be something Celtic could rise above with superior coaching and a clear identity. But when that's not there, the cracks show fast. And that's where Sunday becomes so much more than just 3 points. This derby is a temperature check. It's going to tell us, in 90 minutes, whether this team still has something to fight for, whether Rodgers still has the dressing room, and whether the players are capable of putting aside the noise and delivering when it matters. Because if they don't, the fallout could be brutal. Fans are already restless. Another limp performance, another no-show in a big game, and the pressure will start to build rapidly. Rodgers might be a respected figure within the club, but good will only last so long when the football doesn't back it up. And it's not just about him either. The board will feel the heat too. After a summer that was meant to be about strengthening, refreshing, and kicking on from a domestic double, the reality has been underwhelming. Champions League money vanished. The squad looks weaker than it did at the end of last season. There's been no real statement signing, no injection of proven quality to lift the dressing room. And now the very real danger is that the rot spreads, that the malaise we've seen in Europe starts to infect the domestic form too. The timing couldn't be worse. Rangers are in chaos, yes, but that doesn't mean they're not dangerous. Teams with their backs against the wall are always unpredictable, and there's still talent in that squad, even if it's buried under poor tactics and fractured confidence. The last thing Celtic can afford to do is show up on Sunday and play the occasion like tourists. Ibrox is a volatile place at the best of times. When the home fans are already on edge, it becomes a pressure cooker. Celtic need to walk in there with intent. Not fear, not nerves, but purpose. Get on the ball. Move it with pace. Force mistakes. Feed off the hostility, rather than being suffocated by it. But again, and this is the real dilemma, does this current team have the bottle to do that? Does it have the leaders on the pitch, the characters who can set the tone and keep heads cool? You look at someone like Callum McGregor. He's been talking about needing a reset after the European disaster, about turning the page and not letting the disappointment spiral. And that's the right mentality. That's what you want to hear from your captain. But the talk has to match the action. We've heard plenty of post-match interviews filled with all the right words. Now it's about delivering on the pitch, especially in the biggest fixture of the season so far. Because if Celtic can't raise their level for this, when will they? If they can't take advantage of a Rangers team that's barely keeping itself together, what does that say about our own direction? Sunday needs to be a line in the sand, a performance that draws a response, both from the squad and from the support. Even a narrow win, even a gritty, ugly battle would feel like something to hold on to. What we can't have is another passive, joyless 90 minutes where the team looks like it's going through the motions. That's the kind of result that accelerates discontent. That's the kind of performance that leaves supporters questioning not just the squad, but the whole direction of the club. Now, in terms of how this could play out tactically, there's real scope for Rodgers to shake things up, if he's willing to take the risk. And it would be a risk. Starting someone like Bulatwissa at Ibrox is bold. It might blow up in your face, but it also sends a message. It says, we're here to win, not just to survive. Because right now, Celtic feel like a team stuck in survival mode. Playing safe passes, dropping deep, playing within themselves. That's not going to cut it in a derby. You need punch. You need pace. You need someone willing to beat a man, drive into space, and actually take a chance. We've got players capable of that. The question is whether they're being used right, or whether the system is stifling them. Kyogo, for example, looks a shadow of himself at times. One of the most intelligent movers in the league, and yet he's getting fewer and fewer touches in dangerous areas. You can't blame him for everything. He needs service. He needs players running beyond him. He needs quick transitions, not this ponderous, sideways build-up that lets teams get 10 men behind the ball. The same goes for Lialabada. Flashes of quality, but not enough consistency. And again, is that him? Or is it the system dulling his threat? And then there's the midfield. Matt O'Reilly's got the talent. But are we asking him to do too much defensively? McGregor's dropping so deep that he sometimes feels more like a third center back than a midfield anchor. The balance just feels off. It's all very neat and tidy, but where's the aggression? Where's the verticality? Where's the urgency? Maybe a fresh face like Bulatwissa helps with that. Maybe a different approach entirely is needed. But something has to give. Because this team is underachieving, and everyone knows it. The players know it. The staff know it. The fans certainly know it. And when that's the case, the worst thing you can do is act like everything's fine. Celtic need to be proactive now, not just in transfers, but in mentality. And let's not pretend the Europa League is going to be easy either. Just because it's a step down from the Champions League doesn't mean it's a walk in the park. There are some quality teams in that competition. And with the new format, it's about consistency. There's no safety net. You can't afford to coast through a couple of group games and sneak through. Every result matters. Every performance counts. If we approach it like we approached Kairat Almaty, we're going nowhere. Out by Christmas. Another season of what-ifs and wasted chances. But maybe, and this is the bit of hope we can still cling to, maybe the Europa League gives us something the Champions League doesn't. A chance to build. A chance to actually compete. To grow confidence. To rediscover that feeling of playing for something meaningful beyond survival. Because right now, survival is what it feels like we're doing. Just hanging on. Just getting through games. And that's no way to build a football team. The squad needs to believe again. The fans need to believe again. And belief doesn't come from talking about potential. It comes from moments. From wins. From performances that light a spark. Sunday could be one of those moments. Or it could be another missed opportunity. It's up to them. The frustrating part is that we should be better. We've got the players. We've got the infrastructure. We've got the backing. What's missing is the cohesion, the clarity, the decisiveness. And until that changes, until we stop talking about what Celtic could be and start showing what Celtic are, we're going to be stuck in this loop. But Sunday is a chance to break it. A messy, chaotic, high-pressure derby at a toxic Ibrox might not sound like the ideal environment for a turnaround, but maybe it is. Maybe that's exactly what this team needs. To be thrown into the fire and told, sink or swim. No excuses. No hiding. Just fight. Just play. Just show up. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. The footballing circles of Glasgow are buzzing with an unexpected murmur that has quickly transformed into one of the most talked-about rumors in recent years. Harry Maguire, the much-debated England international, is said to be on the verge of donning the green and white hoops of Celtic for the 2025 season. Supporters, critics, and neutral observers alike are struggling to process what this move might signify for the Scottish game, as rarely does a player of such high profile and Premier League mileage decide to shift his career north of the border. The suggestion is that Maguire, who has experienced both the adulation and relentless scrutiny of English football, has now chosen Celtic Park as the next stage of his career in a bid to rediscover form, confidence, and perhaps a fresh relationship with supporters who adore Warriors on the pitch. Some whisper it could be a masterstroke by the club hierarchy, who have quietly monitored opportunities to strengthen the defensive spine, while others wonder aloud whether the hefty wage bill and the inevitable media circus surrounding the defender could destabilize a squad already chasing glory on multiple domestic and continental fronts. As the chatter spreads through pubs in Glasgow's East End, across message boards, and within press rooms, the tone varies from unrestrained optimism to cautious skepticism. For many Celtic fans, Maguire represents a leader who, despite his mistakes and mocked moments, has consistently shown resilience and professionalism, qualities that could align perfectly with the club's proud tradition of defiant character. The memory of towering centre-halves who etched their names into the club's folklore, icons who led by example, cleared danger with authority, and roused the faithful with passionate performances, lingers strongly, and Maguire, in their eyes, could be the next to carry that lineage. Yet critics point out that his pace has often been questioned, that his decision-making has faltered under the harsh spotlight, and that Scotland's ferocious tempo might expose any lingering weaknesses. Whispers suggest the Celtic board view this as a risk worth taking, a gamble that could reinforce the side in Europe where composure and experience are vital. The atmosphere is one of suspense, with fans torn between excitement at welcoming a Premier League-tested international and nerves about whether the move truly aligns with the club's long-term ambitions. In the corridors of the Scottish football establishment, rival supporters and pundits are already debating how Maguire's arrival could reshape the balance of power. Rangers supporters, never shy of stirring the rivalry, mockingly question whether Celtic are rescuing a fallen star past his peak, while Celtic fans retort with reminders that proven internationals often thrive when given a platform free from the suffocating English media frenzy. Observers note that Maguire's aerial strength and physicality could be decisive in Old Firm clashes, encounters where defensive frailties are ruthlessly punished and where a single commanding clearance can ignite roars that echo through generations. Some argue that his leadership, honed during stints with Manchester United and England, could galvanize the dressing room, particularly younger defenders eager to learn from a veteran who has endured and survived football at the very top. The chatter suggests that Maguire himself views the move as not a retreat but a rebirth, an opportunity to anchor a defense that must withstand the pressure of domestic domination and the daunting stage of European nights under the floodlights of paradise, where expectation weighs heavy but legends are forged. Among journalists and insiders, there is speculation about the circumstances leading to this possible transfer. Rumors claim Maguire had been frustrated with limited playing time in England, where managers shifted tactics and rotated squads, leaving him often sidelined and subject to relentless social media ridicule. A move to Celtic could provide him with the chance to play week in, week out, under a system that values solidity, organization, and the bravery to step forward in possession. There are whispers of private conversations between Maguire's representatives and Celtic officials, with both parties keen to frame the move as more than a transaction, but rather a footballing project rooted in mutual respect. Critics, however, question the financial structure, wondering whether Celtic are stretching resources to secure a headline signing that may not guarantee return on investment. Yet others point to the club's history of unearthing value, noting that bringing in a player of Maguire's stature could raise commercial appeal, attract sponsorships, and further extend Celtic's profile beyond Scotland. The narrative forming around this story is one of opportunity versus risk, with the outcome still shrouded in the fog of speculation. The murmurs refuse to quieten, and the streets surrounding Celtic Park hum with anticipation of what could become a seismic shift in the club's defensive identity. While nothing has been officially announced, the idea alone has sparked debates not only in Scotland, but also across the wider football world, where the notion of Maguire in Celtic colours feels both surprising and strangely fitting. Supporters gather in groups, imagining him leading the team out to the Champions League anthem, while skeptics predict tabloid headlines cataloging his every slip. The rumor has already done its work in stirring emotions, reviving questions about ambition, strategy, and the very fabric of Scottish football's global relevance. Whether this transfer becomes reality or fades into the realm of speculation, it has already succeeded in re-energizing the dialogue around Celtic's future. The buzz, the excitement, the doubt, all combine into a story that feels larger than football, reflecting hopes, anxieties, and the eternal hunger for heroes who might rise above circumstance. And so the city waits, restless and curious, for confirmation that could mark 2025 as the year Harry Maguire redefined the possibilities north of the border. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.